a son that did that a few years ago, and it hasn't been done too often since that time.
Well, that's interesting, Lonnie, because we got caught up in the momentum of it only after the fact. It wasn't until our son Doug Duell was a senior that we began to realize that a lot of people were talking about the possibility of a fourth straight state championship. And now, Lonnie, we're about ready for the awards at 98 pounds.
Well, you see on the stand, Jude Myers taking fourth place. He takes home the fourth place medal. This is Jeff McIntyre that just now receives his award of the Atwood Buffaloes, a third place finisher. And now for the match that is just completed, taking second place, Chad Gentry of Rossville. And Aaron Shelton of Phillipsburg will step up on the podium. He is the 1988 Kansas State champion in the 98-pound weight classification.
You can tell the champion not by the fact that he's on the highest shelf, but he has the biggest smile on his face.
And that is always the case, it seems like. And one thing about the Kansas State Championships, the runner-up still receives a nice bracket, and that's always a good keepsake to be able to remember all the athletes that you competed against. And there are matches that you won and the one that you lost. We'll move on to the 112-pound championship, and in this classification, in the finals, is Kurt Gales of Kinsley with a 26-win and 1-loss record, and Chuck Anderson of Osborne. Chuck Anderson, 24 wins and no losses, and the light uniform will belong to Chuck Anderson. And pacing the mat on the far outside, we just saw Chuck Anderson leave the screen, and Chuck comes back into the screen, and now Kurt Gales of Kinsley is walking around the outside, and Gales will be the last one to make it to the center. Both athletes nervous and primed and ready to go here in the first period of 112-pound championship match of Kansas wrestling.
We have a flurry of arm action, and Kurt Gales has extra long arms. He's used that length to great advantage to gain the championship round here in this tournament at 112 pounds. Chuck Anderson with that undefeated record, and I'm sure that he will not make the mistake of defending the record. His job is to wrestle the opponent and not his own record. It's a defensive tie-up. They're not going to attempt to move from this position, but Gales is locked up. He could execute a throw. He has his hands locked behind the neck of Kurt Gales.
We're down to 1 minute and 10 seconds to go in the first period of action in the 112-pound championship match.
In the light uniform. All right, we're down to 1 minute. 1 minute to go in the first period. It's a scoreless first period. The wrestlers really haven't made a good penetration try, but Kurt Gales of Kinsley did attempt to come in moments ago.
We have not seen a takedown in the first period so far in the state championships, which is a real rarity.
All right, now Gales penetrates. He got in deep on the leg and decided to back out as Chuck Anderson felt the pressure. Chuck Anderson tried to shuck and go around, but Gales felt that pressure, came up standing. Gales made a move for a head and heel. Gales in the dark uniform. Chuck Anderson in the light uniform blocks a move by Gales. We're down to 10 seconds, and no points are scored in the first match so far.
Good, man.
We're going into the second period, and for the third match in the state championship, it's scoreless. Nothing to nothing. Kurt Gales and Chuck Anderson will see who will win it on the match. And taking the bottom side in the light uniform is Chuck Anderson of Osborne. And the top position is Kurt Gales of Kinsley. Kinsley's wrestler will set up on the right side.
Right on the whistle. Anderson tried to stand up, and remember, he had his choice, bottom side, second period. Gales, using his length well, controls the arms. Anderson having problems, and Gales has an arm wrapped all the way around the waist. He's in deep around the waist, and he can hang on pretty well with that type of a waist ride.
Same way, let's go, you're down.
They go out of bounds, 1 minute and 37 seconds to go, and it's still a scoreless match. We're in the second period. Anderson takes his position, and once he's settled in, the referee instructs Kurt Gales to come on board top side. Gales had a notion of putting a leg in, but he'll continue to ride at the moment with his arms because he's having good luck with the arm ride. Now he puts a leg in for the crossbody. Has a leg trap, has a leg grapevine, and remember it's scoreless. Second period, 1 minute and 15 seconds to go.
If Kurt Gales can continue to ride like he has been, even if he doesn't get any back exposure points, he may have an advantage going into the third period because he'll have his choice, whether he wants the top or the bottom side. But right now, Chuck Anderson is trying to get him up a little bit too high, and he may be succeeding, but oh, look at that leg strength in the hip of Kurt Gales as he got back real nicely on the move.
Did a great job. Remember, both of these wrestlers are seniors. They've had plenty of experience, and this is their last go-around in high school wrestling.
A real good call by the official. Neither athlete was going to be able to progress from that point on. Kurt Gales of Kinsley, of course, had both legs in, but he wasn't off to the side where he'd be able to really drive and to be able to expose Chuck Anderson's back to the mat. And Chuck Anderson, of course, with both legs grapevine like that, wasn't going anywhere.
And Lonnie, we're in the second period. We're down to 40 seconds. It's still scoreless. This has been a defensive struggle. We'll see here in a moment how Chuck Anderson performs on the top side. Kurt Gales, doing an effective job of riding, has completely subdued his opponent. Now is attempting, well, he's hanging on with the crossbody ride, but he'd like to try to hook up a cradle in this position. Anderson has him high. He has a chance to shake him off. Can he get him overboard in front? We're down to 11 seconds.
It's going to come down to the wire as to whether he can get loose. I really think that Kurt Gales will be able to hold on, and he does hold on as we go into the third period of action. And it'll be interesting to see Kurt Gales' choice. He takes bottom position, and now Chuck Anderson of Osborne, who will be the wrestler setting up in the top position. It'll be interesting to see how well he can ride. And with the 26-1 record, you know he's probably pretty good, and maybe he's even good at getting the back exposure points in the top position.
Gales is around in a sit-out position. He tried to use that long arm to get a switch going, but Chuck Anderson counters effectively with the bar arm ride. Using the bar arm on the left side, ties up the far wrist. He'll walk around the head of Kurt Gales and try to turn him over and get back exposure points.
You can just see the intensity in the upper body of both athletes, how much strain they're really putting into it. If you look at the arm around the waist of Gales of Kinsley, you can see the type of muscle expression that's needed to hold an athlete down like Chuck Anderson is doing right now.
Well, Chuck Anderson, we thought for a moment would try to turn Kurt Gales, but it happens that he is using the bar arm for a ride at the moment. We have 1 minute and 19 seconds to go in the third period, and the match is still scoreless. Gales on a stand-up. He peels the arms loose, but he didn't get out of there. He had an escape going, had a chance to get away for one.